It's that time again. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another Create Your New Life. It's our weekly business meeting and coaching. I'm your host, Michael G. Davis, CEO, broker, Brooks & Davis Real Estate Firm. Excited to be here with you. Took a week off because we had a big event last week. We're going to talk a little bit about it. We're starting a new session today, and I am geeked about our new session, our new series that we're going to begin. So welcome, everybody. We're going to have a great time today. So if you are checking us out, we're on our YouTube channel. And I want to say thank you for giving us a look. We will make sure that we're not wasting your time. Got a couple of agents that's on board with us today. So ladies, at any point, if you have questions, you want to make comments, please feel free to do so. You know, these trainings are not meant for me just to be talking, but, you know, I will talk. So y'all know that. If you are checking us out on our YouTube page, then I want you to keep in mind that we are always looking for individuals to be a part of our organization where we can assist in development, assist in coaching. So if you hear anything and you want to know more, then all we got to do is schedule a sit down and we can talk about your future. All right. Now, with that being said, I want to encourage everybody to follow us on our social media platforms. So let me get that slide going. Definitely want to encourage you to follow us on our social media platforms. We're on pretty much all of them. If I had to pick, I would say the Brooks & Davis YouTube page gives you a better feel of who we are as an organization, as well as exposure to practical elements of real estate. So I feel like that's a great one. But we're on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. So subscribe, like, follow, learn, and definitely share. Okay. Also, as I said before, if you're checking us out, you're looking at this session, and something really stands out to you, then all we have to do is schedule an appointment. You go to that link, takes you to our scheduling page, and we can schedule an in-person or an online company introduction, so I can lay out, or one of our leaders of the organization can lay out all the great things that Brooks & Davis has to offer. And then finally, through our providership, Brooks & Davis Real Estate Continuing Education Institute, we do offer continuing education hours for our Create Your New Life business meeting and coaching. And those are just the 4 criteria that is required for our agents to get that 1-hour CE credit. So like I said, we have a couple of agents on board, Margaret Harrison, Leticia, who are going to capitalize on that CE credit because they followed the instructions. I don't know how many brokerage firms out there offer CE credit, elective credit like we do, but it really doesn't matter to me because we offer it, and it's all about us. With that being said, so what are we talking about today? Like I said earlier, we will be beginning our next 10-part series today, and that series is going to be about negotiating. I'm in the process right now of doing a lot of study, a lot of research around negotiations. And so there's a number of books that I'm reading. But what I wanted to do with this new series is that I wanted to build this talk around the book Never Split the Difference, right? I think I showed it last time, I don't remember, but it's this book right here behind us. It was written by Chris Voss, and I really believe what I've learned in this book is really negotiation on steroids, like what I said. The concepts, the techniques, I really believe it'll take the results that you get through your negotiation to the next level. So I'm very excited about starting that series today. It's going to be a 10-part series. We're going to walk through it just like we just finished up our shift series. and how to deal with tough times. Now, so today we're going to be talking about our series. We're going to be talking about, what's important about exceeding expectations in our moment of core. We're going to be looking at the business software that was voted #1 from all of our real estate agent members, and we're going to recap our coaching and training facility. I believe Margaret is coming live from our coaching and training center. So we had a reveal last week, and we're going to recap a little bit about that event, as well as what our vision of the coaching and training center is. All right. So the quote that I have attached with us today, it's a quote from somebody that is infamous, President John F. Kennedy. We all know who he is, and I like this quote. The quote is, let us never negotiate out of fear, but never let us fear to negotiate. So John F. Kennedy says that. And as we begin this new series about negotiation, one of the things that I believe really holds people back from truly being effective and going all in with it is fear. Afraid of the results or the impact that comes from what they may perceive as a failed negotiation. So as we go through this series, we're going to be dealing with all of those psychological strategies, or the psychology of it. We're going to be dealing with all of that. And not only are we going to be dealing with it as far as inside of you as an individual, we're going to be dealing with it from a standpoint of how can you use it or leverage that in the other individual that you're actually your counterpart, that you're actually going to be dealing with. So all of that is going to be a part of what we talk about. But that's a phenomenal quote by President John F. Kennedy. Let us never negotiate out of fear, but never let us fear to negotiate. Okay, and it's extremely key in our business. All right, so we are now jumping into our moment of core. So we always spend about 60 seconds, roughly-ish, going through our core ideology. So as stated before, our core ideology is made up of 3 parts. It's made up of our core purpose, our core goal. It's made up of our core goal. It's made up of our core mission, right? And it's made up of our core values. So today we're going to be looking at one of our 5 core values, which is exceeding the expectations of our clients, customers, and colleagues. And at the end of the day, as far as that value, what we're really saying is that we want to create a level of impact and change in the minds or in the experience that we are a part of. So when somebody does business with us or is a part of a transaction to us, and when I say us, I'm speaking Brooks and Davis agent members. I'm not talking about me. I'm not talking about the corporate team. I'm talking about all of us. When somebody is doing business with us, then we want to make sure that they get more than what they expected. We want to make sure that it's such a phenomenal experience that they go and they tell other people about it, right? Now, why, as the CEO, would I want you all to be given a magical experience to other people so they would tell them about it? Why would I want that? Duh, because we want to bring in more people to the organization. So if we get the reputation that, man, those Brooks and Davis agents, man, they just cold-blooded. They are top of the top, but they're the SEAL Team 6 of real estate agents. If we get that reputation going, or when we get that reputation going, then it's definitely going to fuel our efforts of recruitment and growth. So for me, it's highly important that I get you all and I develop you all and I coach you all to become what I know all of you are and the capabilities that you all have of being the SEAL Team 6, the special ops of real estate, of our real estate profession. So getting you all to the point to where, whether it's a client, whether it's a customer, whether it's a colleague that you're working with, if they're engaged with you, then you ultimately change their life, change their perception of our business in a positive way. So that's what that ideology, that core ideology, is all about. All right? Y'all with me? All right, I know y'all with me. I know y'all with me. Okay, so let's jump into now a little bit of our production to see kind of where we are production-wise. You know, who's added things to the table, who sold some stuff, who we need to congratulate. Let's jump into that. So now, as we jump into it, one of the things, one of our agents, Roy Moses, gave me an excellent idea on Friday. I can't believe I didn't even come up with it. It was such a good idea, but I didn't. I got to give my man credit. So he was coming into the office. He had just added something onto the board, and he was like, hey, man, where is the digital board? I want to see the digital board. Where's the digital board? I mean, where's the pending board? So I was like, man, the pending board, we used to have it, but since we remodeled the whole facility, we took it down. So we made it digital. And he's like, well, man, how do I see, you know, my name on the board? I'm like, well, you got to look at the Create Your New Life, right? We show it on the Create Your New Life, and we get a top 3 producing. Like, you know, you got to get online. And Roy was like, but then as I'm talking to him, I say, you know what? Why can't I send that out? Like, why? It's digital. Duh. Why can't we email it out? Why can't we put it in the group me? Why can't we do those things? So, because of Roy, we are now every week on Tuesday going to, in addition to showing it on the Create Your New Life, we're going to place it in the group me for everybody to see. So now, when you get a property and you put it on, get in that pipeline. Now you'll be able to see it on the digital board, right? So, I want to share that. So be on the lookout. So you'll be seeing it today. All right. So here is our pending board. So we definitely want to congratulate some people for getting some stuff on the board. Our corporate team got a deal under contract, as well as Chica. She has a buyer deal under contract, so congratulations on that. Now, the #1 spot, you know, Margaret had held that #1 spot for so long. What's up, Shay? Shay in the building. We see you, girl. Oh. Yeah. We see you. All right. So Margaret had held that #1 spot for the longest. But unfortunately, not unfortunately, she closed on a couple of deals over the last week. So she was able to get some checks. So congratulations, Margaret, putting that money in your pocket. But because she closed on it, now she had to forego that top spot, right? So we got a new #1, we got a new #2. And I got to see what's going on with this Larry W. Brooks name up there. I don't know. I wasn't familiar with him doing any transactions. So I'll work that out with Jess. So before you guys get it in the group me, this thing may be adjusted a little bit. But at any rate, congratulations, everybody. Congratulations, Chica and the corporate team for bringing in new production. And congratulations, everybody who is on the top 3 as far as the producing agents. All right, let's see. We are, yeah. So, all right. So with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into the proprietary programming that we want to highlight in today's session, right? So we did a survey last year because we had all of these programs and we wanted to see which ones were the most effective in the eyes of the agent, right? Because obviously I think they're all great because I came up with them, but that doesn't work. So we had to get the feedback. I got to get some feedback from some people to see what's working, what's not working, what do we need to get rid of, what do we need to emphasize. So we sent out a survey. And when we did that survey, hey, look, that's me. Look, Margaret's showing me doing a previous CYNL at our coaching and training facility. Look at that. It's not this one. It can't be this one. Look, you look in the back, Margaret. The books aren't even there on the thing. Yeah. So anyway, Margaret's distracting me. Don't be distracting me, Margaret. I got some good information to be giving out. Nah, we're just joking. We're having a good time. So we did the survey, and out of the survey, we realized that what I'm about to show you, which is our Success in Real Estate machine, was the #1. It was voted the #1 program, and it was voted the #1 program by a wide margin, right? So, you know, obviously we have all these things, all these programs we asked the survey about. And what our agents told us resoundingly was that this software, this online piece, is the most impactful for their careers and building their careers. So I really want you all to know how to access it, understand what it's all about, make sure you have your logins, right? We actually did a demo, a little demo video. It takes about a minute. Let's see. Hold on. So that's a little demo video that Jess did for us. If you go to that website that's at the top of the video, it takes you to this page. Get your login, put your login in there. And as you put your login in there, it's going to take you to the class, and then you begin the course. So this course has, when it comes to the mechanics of real estate, it has all of it laid out, right? When we talk about that realtor success funnel, it has videos, it has documents that you can download, any document that you need, whether that's a buyer's rep agreement, whether that's a commission disclosure. Let's see, I might send me a message. Yes, so yes, Margaret, it's the same login as the previous zero. That's one of the things that I was going to point out, is that, you know, if you've been here in the past, you had a login, a success in real estate machine, you had a card, right? And we're actually, today, Jess is going to be working on updating those cards so everybody can get an updated laminated card. But you had a special agent member card, a SAM card, that's what we called it. And on that card, we will put the logins for the success in real estate machine. So when we redesigned it and recreated the platform, then we kept the same logins. So the login is the same, all right? But yeah, so that's a little demo video about it. But I'm gonna go ahead and actually go to it so you can see it. Here it is on my computer. Okay, so here it is on my computer. And as you can see, you know, you get an email, you get a password. I'm gonna say it again. To go to the link, it's this website. So here's the website, bdref.thinkific.com. You go there, it's gonna take you to this page. When you get to this page, just like in the demo video, you're gonna put in your email, you're gonna put in a password. Now, if you have not gotten your login credentials, then make sure you call the office or send an email, or you can send an email to the office, and we'll get you that, you can get that information sent back to you, because I want to make sure you can log in, all right? So now, once you go to that website, you press sign in. Oh, look at that. It's going to make sure that you're a human. I'm a human. Okay, boom. So once it recognizes that you're a human, now this is my back office one. So yours is gonna look a little different. When you log in, this is what yours is gonna look like. So disregard, like, don't pay attention to none of this stuff right here, because this is the back one. Yours, when you log in, it's going to take you here. So when you log in for the first time, it's going to tell you to start the course. Once you click on start the course, then the course is going to look like this, right? And then, as you can see, it's made up of 7 sections, right? So it has the introduction, which is the start here. And then it has all 6 of the skill sets that we coach when it comes to the mechanics of doing a real estate transaction, ranging from generating leads all the way to getting the contract that you now have closed as smooth and as fast as possible. So each one of these 7 sections deals with those skill sets. And inside of those skill sets, inside of each section, you have videos, you have documents, you have tools, you have resources. So all of those are inside of each one of these skill sets. So even here you can see different examples that you can utilize, you can download straight from the software. And it's made up like that in each one of the skill sets. So in each one of them you have your menu to the left, and you can collapse it or you can increase it. So if you're dealing, so for instance, if you are, I had this question yesterday about, agents preparing to meet with a buyer. I asked them, are you going to have them sign a buyer's rep? The question was, well, how do I get the buyer's rep? Well, you can log into here. And I believe in skill set 3, where it talks about successfully scheduling the consultation, I believe there is, let's see, for buyers right here, if you go to that page for buyers, you have videos, but you have the different resources that you can use, different scripts. So now that I think about it, it must be in number 4 when you're actually at the consultation. Let's see if that's where it is. All right, so ensuring you leave the consultation with a client. You go there for buyers. There we go. So here's the forms. Client broker loyalty agreement. These are the forms that the person will sign at a buyer's consultation. So the solution to the agent that had the question of where do I go to get that form, well, it's in your Success in Real Estate machine. And I believe that's why this tool was voted the #1 of all the proprietary programs that we have, because it's so robust and it's easily able to be navigated. So this is one of those tools. I highly encourage you to, if you have not gotten your login credentials, remember it's an email and a password. Send us an email, call the office. Let's make sure that you're able to get access to it. So when you have questions, you're not skipping a beat when you're meeting with clients or doing things. You have access to all of that stuff. All right. So Margaret, look, we can see behind you. Margaret, you're on the screen behind you. Look behind you. It's Margaret. Margaret and Jet. Yeah, that was one of our episodes for the Prime Real Estate Network. Look at us, boy. All right. So now that we've talked about that, we've talked about Serum. You ladies have any questions, anything about that? Any comments? Everybody good? All right. Everybody good. Uh-oh. Hold on, Letitia. You saying something? I can't hear you. Hold on. Let me see. I'm muted. Everybody's muted. Let me let y'all. All right, go ahead, Letitia. Was you gonna say something?
Oh no, I'm sorry.
Okay. Well, if you was, I couldn't hear you anyway, and now I can hear you, Margaret. Margaret, were you saying something earlier? You good?
I muted myself earlier.
You muted yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, there was some other conversations going on. I didn't want to, mess up your recording.
Mess up the show. Absolutely. And I appreciate that, Margaret. No. Matter of fact, you should have just went in there and told them stop talking so loud.
No, they was talking business.
Oh, okay. Well, you're right. We gotta let them do what they need to do then. Okay, perfect. All right. So let's see. We're gonna recap. Let's recap the coaching and training center real quick, reveal, and then we're gonna jump into our training for today. So for those that were able to attend, I believe everybody that is on our session today was in attendance. So before I start, why don't y'all talk about the event? Y'all went to it. Come on. We're going to start. Who's going to say it first? Nobody?
Okay, I guess you got it, Letitia?
Yeah. So
Okay.
it was a great event. It was a good turnout. Got a chance to meet other agents, which is always great. I think the spirit of the event was what it was meant to be. It was welcoming. It was inviting. The office turned out great. The transformation was great. So I had a good time.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. And you was kind of going into, so what do you think about the new facility, Letitia? Was that your first time seeing it? Like 90% complete?
Yeah, completed, because I kind of came in a few times in between. So
Yeah.
it definitely turned out well as far as what you can see it going from, and then kind of like in the middle stage where stuff was being moved around. So it was a nice transformation. I like the workspace in the back.
Because
you
were able to see Letitia, you was able to see, and I know Margaret definitely was, but you were able to see like what the old office looked like, right?
Yeah, the old office was dark. It was
right.
Closed
right.
in. How about that? Right. Yeah. Now it's a little more open. It's brighter. It's vibrant, which is good for business.
Yeah.
Because you need to give you a great motivation.
Absolutely. All right, Margaret, Shay, what do y'all have to add?
It was a really, really nice, I believe, well-attended event. I got to meet some of the vendors, like the inspector that I use. I always spoke with him on the phone, and I never saw him in person, Mr. Joe Poole. So that was exciting, and I actually left and then came back. I got a little hungry, and I knew where some food was. So I was able to come back and eat. In fellowship, we had fun. I think it went on longer than we expected. It was a really nice time meeting everybody, seeing how everybody let loose. When we get a little drink in, it was fun.
That's right. Got comfortable.
Yeah.
So y'all start doing music videos and stuff in there?
Yeah.
Karaoke? Nah, it was a good time. So Shay, I think Shay, you was about to say something. We can't hear you, Shay. Hold on, Shay. Hold on. Let me let you speak.
Hold on. Oh.
All right, there you go.
That's me.
Shay,
okay, thank you.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah, so I was saying, I agree with everything the other lady said about the event. It was a really good opportunity for me as a new agent joining Brooks and Davis to be able to fellowship with other agents and really just to kind of break the ice and, like we don't know each other, but we know each other a little better. And, like Margaret said, the night kind of went on a little longer than because I think Quan had been trying to leave for like 2 hours, and we just, we were just having
y'all were having too much fun.
Good conversation, yeah. So it was definitely worth it, even though I didn't get much sleep, but it was definitely worth it. We'll do it again. So yeah.
Absolutely. Well, Shay, you weren't the only one. I didn't get much sleep either. Okay. Wasn't just you.
Well, I mean that's typical for me anyway.
Oh, you don't. Absolutely, but it was worth it. It was worth it.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so we took some pictures. Now we're at the. I was able to see the first draft of the video. So Chica did a video for us. Boom. So I was able to see the first draft of the video. It's gonna be awesome. We're gonna make a few edits, but once the final version is done, we're gonna send that out to everybody so they'll be able to see it in its entirety. But, again, for those that weren't able to attend, here's just some snapshots of what the new facility looks like. Matter of fact, what I should have did, I'll probably do this next week, is I'll do pictures of the old office and then pictures of the new office so you guys can really see the transformation. I think that'll be awesome. But we definitely want to say thank you to our event collaborators, BRPS Title, E.O. Crane with BRPS Title, Ahmad Steele with Blackstone Title, the mortgage man, he was able to come by. Margaret mentioned Joe Poole. JP Inspector is one of our collaborators. He came to the event. And Lois Ellis with Cinch Home Warranty, one of our collaborators. She was responsible for the food that brought Margaret back because she was hungry. So that was provided by Lois Ellis with Cinch Home Warranty. So we definitely want to say thank you for them to collaborate, these marketing event collaborators with us. We do plan on having another event, our next event in June. We want it to be bigger and better. So we'll be reaching out and getting some event collaborators for that as well. So you guys be on the lookout. But like I said, we're doing a video. We get the video going, and we had a good time. Had a real good time last week. Really good time. All right. Now, with that being said, let's jump in for the remainder of our time. Usually 30 minutes of training. So with the last 30 minutes of our session, we're going to jump into our new talk, our new series. So never split the difference. So today, in today's session, I'm going to kind of really give an overview about the premise or the ideas of the book, so you can understand. It's a term. Matter of fact, it's a term that I heard about another book that I'm reading right now. Is Start With No. It's actually on my desk, but I'm also reading this book. This is a negotiating book as well. Start with No by Jim Camp. So when we talk about being experts at negotiation, we're gonna be experts. We're gonna know how to do this thing. But a term that Jim Camp uses in his book is contrarian. He considers himself a contrarian when it comes to negotiation. Right? He doesn't subscribe to different terms that we hear when it comes to negotiation. Is win-win. All of these different terms that have been, I guess, conventional knowledge or conventional wisdom when it comes to negotiating. So he's contrarian. And that term we can also use for this view of how Chris saw negotiation and techniques and things like that, and how to handle negotiations effectively. He comes at it from a contrarian standpoint. Now, I want you to understand, this is the first time that I've read negotiation books and things like that. Matter of fact, the first couple of people, and Chris actually mentions these people in his book. Herb Cohen, he wrote a book about negotiation and a couple of books about negotiation, and those were the books that I read, right? And up until this point, when I negotiated and when I taught negotiation, those were the techniques that I use. Those are the techniques that I coach and train people on. But having read this book, having exercised these techniques, and having experienced it over these last 15 years in the multiple transactions, I have changed and I have transformed dramatically the way that I approach negotiation. And when I look back at these things that I had learned and that I was utilizing, and like I said, the conventional way of people, I would say, selling negotiation, that what Chris talks about in this book is way more effective, and what Jim talks about in his book. And there are some other books that is going to come up in our talk as well that I immediately went out and bought those books just to have a comprehensive view from this negotiation space, right? So today we're going to look at the first chapter, and the first chapter of the book is called The New Rules, right? It's called The New Rules, and the reason he calls it The New Rules is because in that chapter he starts off with a story of where he's gone into I would say, an interview with some Harvard-trained negotiators, like the way from a theoretical, they're academics, right? So they approach negotiation from the mathematical theories and the systemized approach. They approach negotiation from that standpoint. And again, we're talking about Harvard Business School, right? So when you hear Harvard Business School, it's like, oh man, that's the best of the best from an academic standpoint from anything. If you're talking about Harvard or Yale or any of the Ivy Leagues. So he begins the book off with a story of engagement with these individuals. Now, mind you, Chris, he's been a negotiator with the FBI, right? So he's an international negotiator, and he's a hostage negotiator. So that's the space that he's coming from when it comes to negotiation. And so in essence, it seems as if, now I don't know if this is the truth or not, but it seems as if when he was engaging with these Harvard trained negotiation experts, will say that their point was to kind of upshow them, or like really show that they know more of what they know when it comes to negotiation. And what he says in the book, now I'm sure it's probably some bias because he wrote the book, but what he says in the book is that in essence he showed them, he showed them up, right? And he talks about some of the things that he utilized when he showed them up. One of the things that he opens up with is a technique that's called calibrated questions, which is something that we're going to go into more depth in one of the subsequent chapters, calibrated questions. But the calibrated questions are interrogatory questions. The best way to see those are the questions, if you're a news reporter, those questions that they teach you what to ask when doing an interview. It's the how, the what, the when, the why, those questions. So what Chris talked about is when engaging in negotiation and you utilize this calibrated question, you're employing, the how, the how are we going to do that, or the what is it about this, right? He tells us to really steer away from the word why because it forces psychologically people to become defensive. So he begins the book with that engagement as a way to, number one, expose wonder techniques. So calibrated question is only one of them. But he gives us, even in the other books that I've read on negotiation, they never spoke about the power of questions and how to ask the right questions to ultimately get information that you can use to leverage, right? Those books didn't really present it from that standpoint. They already push towards closing. They always, we've heard that always be closing, right? We've heard the win-win. We've heard the get to the yes. Like, we've heard that stuff in negotiation. And then when you apply it, in reality, the results that are sold are not the results that you give from a practical standpoint, which is what Chris is saying. And keep in mind, this guy's negotiating with terrorists. He's negotiating with kidnappers. He's negotiating with hijackers. So his stuff gotta work. Like, the tools have to work, because if the tools don't work, people die, right? So that's another reason why I was like, man, look, if he's negotiating in those life or death situations and becoming effective in that, well, a simple real estate transaction, that's easy. You know what I'm saying? We'll be superheroes when it comes to everyday negotiations or that kind of stuff. So that just offers a little bit of credibility, because it's very important to if I'm going to coach, or if I'm going to teach, if I'm going to subscribe to some way of thinking or some concepts, even to the point to where I get super passionate and excited about delivering it to you all, then I need you all to understand that I'm not just picking random people. Like, I've vetted it, I've applied it, I've used it, I've seen it work myself, I've seen the effectiveness of it. So I want to be clear that this book and this author is credible, that I've done my research on them and I've tested it, right? So that just offered a little bit of credibility around why I chose this book and this philosophy to go for, all right? So now, the biggest premise around this book, and you'll see it in the first chapter, is that what Chris is talking about is not the logical, the mathematical theories around negotiation. Meaning, we're humans, we're not robots. Like, if you're negotiating with a robot, then A plus B equals C. It can be systematic, It can be sequential. It can be, I ask this question, I can determine the response, and based on this predetermined response, I know what next question to ask. Like, it's with a robot, you can have a narrow-based plan when preparing for the negotiation and have a script, meaning your counterpart that you're negotiating with is going to follow that script. And that's how Harvard trained its negotiators. That's what Chris was going up against when these, negotiation experts, highly trained negotiation experts, were going toe-to-toe with him. It's as if he was engaging in some type of methodological approach that they was throwing at him, right? Well, the reality of negotiations is this. We're not robots. We are humans. And guess what about, and we're humans, or what Chris calls us, he calls us animals. He says we're animals. We're animals with fears, we're animals with needs, perceptions, and desires. So what that means is that there is no way, it doesn't create an environment to be methodical, right? Because when you're in the middle of a negotiation, if something's driven by fear, then that's sporadic, right? If something's driven by need, or if something's driven by perception, whether right or wrong, you could be negotiating with somebody or having a conversation with somebody, and their perception is thrown off. And if you got two people whose perception is not the same, there is no communication. So when creating a system around a system of rationality, we'll say that, when creating a system of rationality or rational thinking around an environment that's completely irrational, you can see why it ain't gonna work, right? So I can see why in certain negotiations it didn't work. Now, was I able to get some results? Sometimes, of course I was, right? But I promise you, if I'd have had this information, every single negotiation that I've been a part of over the last 15 years would have been done completely different, and I'm more than confident that I would have got better results or better turnout than I did get. And then I think back of all the negotiations that lost. Like every time I had a deal bust out, that's a failed negotiation, right? And if I'd have had these tactics, these strategies to apply to it, can you imagine how much more commissions that I would have made, right? If I'd have had these techniques and these strategies. So it literally cost me money not knowing and not understanding, right? But we know now. We gonna know now, and it ain't gonna cost us no more money, right? So at the end of the day, it's not about logic, it's not about mathematical, it's about fears, needs, perceptions, and desires. That's what you're dealing with. So in essence, it's about human psychology, right? So as you can see, a lot of kind of where we're moving, even from a coaching standpoint, it's all about the psychology, right? I was having I'm actually going to be meeting with one of our, I'm going to be meeting with one of our affiliate members today, who's they're about to take their test. And, one of the things that I'm doing now with my affiliate members is that I'm sitting with him. I think he takes his test tomorrow or the day after tomorrow. And he was going to forego meeting with me. He was like, well, you know what? I want to get some more mathematics under my belt, so I'm not going to be able to make it. And I pretty much told him that, you're taking, what it sounds like you're doing is that you're taking math, you understanding math, the math section of the test, and you're placing that above or more important than the emotion, being in peak state when you go in there to take the test, right? Peak emotional, peak mental state, right? Not understanding the importance of that, right? And you're placing that importance on just the knowledge or the math or the elements, the information. When you can have all the information in the world, but when it's time to perform, man, you can, what they call it, you can choke, right? When you look at sports, and if somebody, they need to hit a free throw to win the game, right? It ain't that they don't know how to shoot a free throw. They know all the fundamentals. But they probably did it thousands of times in a career. And if we're talking about an NBA player, you can imagine how many free throws they done shot. So it's not about them knowing, how to position a ball, knowing where to bend their legs, knowing how to aim, where their head, where the shoulders, their elbow. They know all of that, right? But guess what? Under the right circumstances, they'll still go up there and miss it, right? In knowing all the information, they still don't get the result that they want. Why? Because just like I told my affiliate member, 80% of success is psychological. 20% is mechanical, right? So we can't take something that's mechanical and try to place it above the psychological aspects of it. So the most important about passing the real estate exam is making sure, not about what you know, what you learned in that real estate class. It's about ensuring when you walk through that door, you're in peak emotional and mental state and ready to take the test, right? So I brought that up to say it's the same thing when talking about negotiating, right? It's a psychological dance. That's what it's about. It's about understanding the psychology of the counterpart. And as you identify and understand the psychology of the counterpart, accepting that you're not dealing with a robot, that you're dealing with crazy, irrational, impulsive, emotionally driven people, right? That all of these dynamics are out there, and you got to be able to, you have to be able to identify them. And when you identify them, understand and have the skill to be able to maneuver them, right? So that's what this book is going to help us do. He says all the raw intelligence and mathematical logic in the world is little help in a fraught, shifting interplay of two people negotiate. Like none of that, he's saying none of that stuff matters because the negotiation is too many shifts and moves and variables to where a systemized, played out plan will ever be achievable, right? So what Chris says is that those Harvard people, they learned it, right? They figured that out. Or he taught them, because at the end of the day, they were trained in theories and techniques. They have these acronyms to define them. And Chris talks about those acronyms, BATNA and ZOPA, like these different acronyms that they use, like just a script, predetermined sequence of actions. And how can you predetermine an action of somebody that's irrational, crazy, filled with fears, needs, and desires? You can't. So it's more of a dance. They make a step, you make a step. They make a step, you react. It's about actions and reactions. It's about being able to make adjustments, right? I have these kind of conversations with my friends, with football fans, and what really defines the greatest football coaches are those that make halftime adjustments, right? Meaning before the game starts, they script out maybe their first 16, first 20 plays, right? But the great ones is not about how good they can script the first 20 plays. It's about when none of those 20 plays work, the ones that are able to adjust according to the flow of the game, the results that they're getting, the responses that they're getting, and can make those adjustments and turn around. Those are the great coaches. So that's what it is with negotiation. Yeah, you can plan for it, but the real skill comes in on how can you maneuver within it. How can you adjust within the negotiation? And all of that is psychology. All right. So it all started with the book Getting to Yes, right? So that was the book that was created by some Harvard-trained negotiator experts, Roger Fisher and William Ury. They were the ones that came up with Getting to Yes. And at the time, it was a groundbreaking book on negotiation. It totally changed the way people saw negotiation because they approached it from a problem-solving perspective, a systemized problem-solving perspective, where two parties, they could come to a mutually beneficial deal. That's where the term win-win, that we're going for win-win. That's where that term came from. It came from Getting to Yes, that book. Now, this is the interesting, when we talk about the contrarian view of negotiating. This is the subtitle for Jim Camp's book. He says, start with no, right? So it ain't getting with yes. His book's called Start with No. And then he says, Here's the #1 negotiating coach, and he explains why win-win is an ineffective, often disastrous strategy and how you can beat it. So he has written an entire book around blowing up the idea of win-win, which was a concept that was created back in the book Getting to Yes. That's where that concept came up. And the idea of their system was broken out into 4 pieces. Step 1 was to separate the person, right? Separate the person, the emotion from the problem. Well, how do you do that? Like, how do you separate a person from an emotion? You can't. And then how do you separate? And now if you can't separate the emotion and the person, then you definitely can't separate the problem, because the problem is being caused by the emotion, right? And the emotion is being caused by the person, so you can't separate it. But that was the first step in their system, separate the person from the emotion. The step 2 was don't get wrapped up in the other side's position, what they're asking for, but instead focus on their interests, why they're asking for it, so that you can find what they really want. All right, now that's still a technique. That's a technique we're going to study that still works. It's called getting in the world. That's what Chris calls it, right? Because you have to, and then what Jim says is about negotiating from your adversary's position, right? That the entire negotiation should be based on their position and their role, right? So it's the interesting thing about negotiations is that it's perceived to be this, selfish attempt to get what you want, but in reality, it's a very noble attempt to give somebody what they want and what they need. And we'll see it as we break it down, as we, pull away these different layers. All right, so that was step 2, get wrapped up in the other side's position. Step 3 was work cooperatively to generate a win-win option, right? So I'm going to throw this again. I know I'm going to repeat it later when Chris goes into detail about the whole win-win and going for a win-win. I love this analogy, the way that he brought it out. He said win-win is like, if you're married, you have your suit on and or your heels, right? And you want to wear the brown shoes, but your spouse says you should wear the black shoes, right? You want to wear the brown ones? They think you would look better with the black ones. Well, he says win-win or compromise is you wearing one black and one brown shoe, right? That's compromise, right? If you want to wear the brown ones, they say you should wear the black ones. Now compromise, one black shoe, one brown shoe. Now, how silly would that look though, right? You would be better if you either got what you wanted, which was both brown shoes, or you didn't get what you wanted, you got black. You would, either one of those options is still better than the compromise, right? So that's how he views compromises. That it's better to either get what you want or not get anything that you want. So it's like a no deal. We're either able to do the deal or we're not able to do the deal. But as far as compromising, as far as win-win, it all, at the end of the day, the kind of results that you get, you end up, it doesn't work for anybody, right? So work cooperatively, generate win-win, and then the 4th one was establish a mutually agreed upon standard for evaluating those possible solutions. So it was 4 steps that getting to yes, that system that changed the whole negotiation piece, right? But again, the same thing that I pointed out earlier is what Chris talks about. The reality is that people are neither fully rational nor completely selfish, and that our tastes are anything but stable. Like, as human beings, we are not, there is no level of stability. We're irrational. We have all these dynamics going on. So because of that, right? And guess what? It's not a black mark against any one person. We're all human. It's humanity, right? So since and those are the people we're going to be negotiating with, I hope, right? I hope you ain't out there trying to negotiate with your dog, or you out there trying to negotiate with your cat or any pet of choice, whether it's a real estate agent, or whether it's a client, or whether it's your spouse, or whether it's your kids. You're going to be negotiating with a human being, period. And all of us have all of these things going on the inside of us. So another book, matter of fact, that's why I got this up here, because Chris brings this guy out, Daniel Kahneman, it's a Nobel Prize winner in economics. So this is another one I'm going to read. Look how big that thing is. I'm going to read it, though. So it's a big one. Look at it. Look at it, Leticia. Look how big that book is. You should read it with me. Ooh, that's a big one.
The audio version. I have to listen to that.
So yeah, he's a winner. So his thing, and Chris brings it out, was that he presented an economic analysis, assuming, talking about how as human beings we're not rational. We're not. It is self-evident. This is what he concluded in this book. That it is self-evident that people are neither fully rational nor completely selfish, and that their tastes are anything but stable. And through decades of research, they prove that humans all suffer from cognitive bias, that is, unconscious and irrational brain processes that literally distort the way we see the world. So all of that mumbo-jumbo scientific talk to say that we are biased, period. And that no matter how unbiased that we want to be, we cannot control it. We are irrational. That's just like saying if I look at my kid and I look at your kid, because it's my kid, naturally, innate inside of my brain, I'm going to have a bias in my kid, period. Right? Whether it's my kid, whether it's my real estate company, whether it's my client, whether whoever it is. And if I try to approach it from a standpoint of saying, well, no, it's all the same. I see, like people say, I don't see color. I don't see color. You do see color, right? You do see preference, like you see it, period. But if you approach it from that standpoint, then you're not putting yourself in a position to be effective. So that's the same thing with negotiation. You got to go into it understanding what you're dealing with, right? You can't operate in extremes. So also in his book, this is the reason why I'm getting the book, because he talks about these two systems that govern us, system 1 and system 2, and two systems of our brain. Okay, so he says system 1 is a more influential, and it guides and steers our system 1 is slow, deliberate, and logical, right? So that's our smart brain. That's the brain that we make logical and deliberate decisions. And we're not spontaneous with it. Like we're not impulsive. We're calculated. We take our time. That's typically the way that we make good decisions with our system 2 brain. That's what he calls it, the system 2 brain. But then he pulls out this system 1 brain, right? And the system 1 brain is far more influential. It guides and steers our rational thoughts. Now, the system 1 brain, I thought I put it out here. The system 1 brain is about your beliefs, feelings, impressions. Like those are the main sources when it comes to your system 2 brain. I thought I put this somewhere. Got to make sure I'm saying this right. Yeah. So system 2, let's see. Yeah, there we go. All right. So your system 1 brain. So in essence, what he's saying is that the system 1 part of our brain is the emotional part. It's the irrational part. It's the impulsive part, and that's the part that is the influential part, right? So I don't know if you've heard this. I've heard this a lot. Is that people don't make decisions with their brain; they make decisions with their heart, right? That people decide to do things. You get people to take action through their emotions, not through their rational mind, right? What they do is that they make the decision with their emotions, and then they justify it with their rational mind. So that's the same thing that Daniel Kahneman is saying, that we use your system 1, which is your emotional part, to make the decision, and then you use your system 2 to justify it or to explain or to create the story of why the decision was made, right? So now if you go try to get somebody to do something and you're trying to use ration and you're trying to use practicality and you're trying to use all that left brain stuff, all that mental stuff to get them to make a decision, and you're wondering why they're still not choosing to do it, is because you're trying to use the wrong thing to influence the decision. You got to touch them. You got to make them feel a certain way. Why is Disneyland so expensive? But Disneyland and Disney World are so expensive because they know how to capture your emotions. They create magic. So you take somebody and you put them in a magical environment, you can get them to do whatever you want them to do. Why do you think people go to Disneyland and stay in line for hours, right? And then they come back and do it again. Because Disney knows how to trigger and stimulate your system one mind, right? And take you to that place. So Chris talks about that stuff in the first chapter. So all of this, again, is still in the first chapter, right? So now, he ends it with, and this is what I believe is kind of like the main idea, right? You know, it's funny. I feel like I'm going through school again with my kids because we'll have to help them with their homework and things like that. So my son had to pull out the main idea of a passage. So this is what the main idea of this book is all about, is that because of Chris's experience in the field, working with hostage negotiators and risky situations, as well as interviewing other police negotiators, what they found is that the incidents where they're having to negotiate are driven by emotion. So they're filled with emotionally driven incidents, not rational bargaining interactions. Like, it's nothing to do with interaction when you're in that situation. And that those type of emotionally driven incidents constituted the bulk of what most of them had to deal with. We're talking about the police negotiators. Well, since that is what they dealt with, then now they had to completely change their tactics of approach. And they had to move from this rational bargaining that Harvard was trying to train everybody to do and move into this emotional space, this psychological space, and come up with what this book is about: simple psychological tactics and strategies that can be used. So that's the main idea of what we're going to talk about over the next 9 sessions. We're going to be talking about simple psychological tactics and strategies that are going to help us be more effective in our negotiations, in our everyday life negotiations. Like I said, whether that's with other real estate agents, whether that's with our clients, whether that's with our kids, our spouses, whoever it is, we're going to learn these simple psychological tactics and strategies, and we're going to become proficient and skilled in them. We're going to practice them, and we're going to become SEALs Team 6 type negotiators in this business. That's what this process looks about. All right. So now he wraps up this chapter by talking about where it all starts. It all begins with listening. So negotiation, which is one of the tactics that we're going to expound upon into next week. But he introduces a little bit of it here, talking about it all starts with listening. And listening is a universally acceptable premise that people want to be understood and accepted. And that's what listening does. It allows people for you to put a person in that state, regardless of what their emotions are doing or saying or storing or whatever. At the end of the day, people find their happy place when they feel like they're being heard, they feel like they're being understood, right? So there's some different psychological tactics that we're going to present, like the summary and others, that help people get to that place, right? And again, he says, contrary to popular opinion, listening is not a passive activity. It is the most active thing you can do. And this is the funny thing about listening. When you as an individual realize that you can't be haphazard with listening, that you have to be intentional, and that you have to put parameters in place to where you can truly listen and truly hear what somebody says, when you become intentional about that, then you realize how little people listen, right? You realize as you're talking, right, how little people are actually listening to what you are telling them. And that's why there's so much miscommunication, so many mistakes that can be made, because people don't understand that listening is an active, it's the most, I agree with Chris, it's the most active thing that you can do is listen, right? So after that, he ends it with life is a negotiation. I said it earlier. The majority of interactions we have at work, at home, they're negotiations. They boil down to the expression of a simple animalistic urge of I want, right? That's all it is. So every day, I can't even imagine how many negotiations that I've already gone through today. How many negotiations you already gone through today and didn't realize it. Just kind of going through it haphazardly. But life, it's all about negotiations, right? And the reality is this. If you are going to be that high-level skilled negotiator that I want all of you to be the most effective at this skill set that you can be, if you're going to be that, then the first thing you have to do is get over your aversion to negotiating. There's a lot of people, we talked about it earlier with John F. Kennedy, and fear. You can't be afraid of it, or you can't feel like it's a bad thing. You can't feel like you're manipulating. You can't feel like you're making people do things that they don't want to do. You got to get past that, because if you don't get past that, then it's gonna prevent you from going at it 157 miles an hour. You're gonna take your foot off the gas when it comes to it. And this is something that I need y'all to get, because it'll be life-changing to your business. You becoming a better negotiator. It's gonna get you more clients. It's gonna get you to get more of your clients under contract. It's gonna get you to get more of your clients under contract closed. It's gonna affect every aspect of your business. It's gonna get you more people to refer you, get more people to refer you business. All of that is gonna happen when you become better at negotiating and understanding people. So negotiation, you don't need to like it. So I'm not here to make you like negotiating, but you do need to understand it, and you need to understand how the world works when it comes to it. You got to get it. Negotiation does not mean browbeating or grinding someone down. It doesn't mean any of that negative stuff that you may have picked up. It does not mean that. It is simply a means of playing the emotional game that human society is set up for. It's an emotional game. So now you finna learn the rules, right? The game's not gonna change, whether you like it or not, whether you want to participate in it or not. It's not changing. So since it ain't gonna change, it's what society is set up for. Now it's just time to learn the rules so you can become effective inside of it. All right? Because at the end of the day, it ain't about what you ask for. I mean, it ain't in this world. You get what you ask for. Period. Now we're gonna know how to ask correctly, right? It's 100% guarantee that you won't get 100% of the things that you don't ask for. It's 100% guarantee that you will not get 100% of the things that you don't ask for, right? It's guaranteed. So you only get what you ask for. So this is just a way of asking better, so you can get more of what you want and less of what you don't want. All right? So never split the difference. You guys ready? Y'all ready to get it? Y'all ready to get this knowledge? Y'all ready to become top tier negotiators for Brooks and Davis, which is going to take us all to a new level? Yes. I know y'all ready for it. So we getting it going. All right, next week we are going to look at the first psychological tactic and strategy, which we're going to use to exponentially increase the effectiveness. So we're going to start on the first tactic and spend some time on that one. It's called mirroring. And we're going to dig into mirroring and show how using that technique can really help your counterpart feel comfortable with sharing and expounding, right? So that's what we're going to talk about tomorrow. Are you saying something, Margaret? Sound like you're saying something. What are you saying?
Mirroring.
Oh, you're mirroring me. So now, it's funny you brought that up, because there are two ways to mirror. You can mirror physically, but you can also mirror verbally. So what we're going to talk about tomorrow, we're not going to be talking about the physical mirroring that you're doing right now. We're going to talk about the verbal mirroring, right? Because sometimes when you're in a negotiation, whether it's via email, whether it's over the phone, whether it's a text message, well, if you can still mirror without being in face-to-face with them, right? So we're going to talk about that next week. All right. Any questions, comments, anything? Are y'all just as excited as I am?
Yeah.
I'm excited. All right.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I'm excited.
All right. So we're going to jump into it. Now, if you can, get the book. the same thing I said with Shift. Get the book, right? I'll be showing y'all periodically how to get to the notes because I'm doing the same thing. I'm putting the notes and things like there in the agenda for our session, so you'll have access to that as well. That's more like the Cliff Notes. But if you can, get the book, read the book. All right? All right. With that being said, I always end with, well, does anybody need any coaching, anything specific before I shut it down? No? Everybody good? Everybody good? All right, cool. All right, so let me just, real quick, I always like to show we give CE credit. So maybe some people are looking at the video later, they came on a little later. We offer CE credit. Our agents are able to capitalize on that. These are just the 4 areas that they have to do to make sure that they get it. All right. If there's anything, you're checking us out on our YouTube channel, you've looked at the entire session and you're like, man, that's what I need my broker to be doing, man. I need him to be giving me the game. I need him to be making me a better negotiator or a better agent to put me in a stronger position to succeed. If you're saying that to yourself, then what I'm saying you need to do is you need to click on that link and you need to schedule an online or in-person company introduction where we can go into more of how we can put you in the position to be successful. Look, I don't know about these other brokerage firms out here, but ours has one-on-one coaching that's included in you being a part of Brooks & Davis. Now, you take that to the bank and cash. All I'm saying, take it to the bank. But I just didn't. Look at me, I'm pushing buttons. All right, let me get back to my screen. All right, boom. So then after that, and then, all right, so let's do that. And then finally, you can see us, you can follow us on social media. Our YouTube channel is the best place to really get a glimpse of who we are as an organization, what we talk about. Our Create Your New Life business meeting and coaching sessions are there. I finalized the playlist for our last 11-part series that we did over Shift. So you guys go check that out. It has all 11 sessions compiled with a description of what we discussed. And then whether it's on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, every week we send out multiple great content for the world, free content for the world to share. So if you're not following us or you're not subscribed, do all of that so you can take advantage of what we have to share. All right? With that being said, that is it. The ladies don't have anything. Then I'm going to get my music. I'm going to turn it up really, 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 really loud. And we're going to wrap this thing up. No! It is over! We did that thing right there. We jumped off our based on never split the difference. And it's official. Everybody's excited about it. So I can't wait to see what these next 9 sessions are going to be about. All right? We talked about why it's important to exceed the expectations of people. We looked at the Brooks & Davis #1 business software voted on by our agents, and we recapped our phenomenal event we had. Our coaching and training facility is going to be, we have so much in store for how we're going to use that space, and we're extremely excited about it. All right? With that being said, I'm your host, Michael G. Davis, broker, CEO, Brooks & Davis Real Estate Firm. Honored to be here. When it's all said and done, all I want to do is to coach you into the cosmos. It's time to take off, baby. It's time to take off. Y'all have a good one.
You too. Bye-bye.